Don't worry about the other guys.
People of goodwill across the nations desire to work together for the good and well-being of others and of all people. And for people of faith, charity, the practical support of those in need is something we have in common. And for Christians, it's encapsulated in the command of Jesus that we are to love our neighbour. In this month, so holy to Muslims, to our friends and neighbours, we're honoured to welcome you as you raise resources to be used in responding to those affected by war, by famine, by illness and poverty. That was our sole intent when this walk was first mentioned to us, and it remains uppermost in our thoughts. However, I began by saying that this is a house of prayer for all nations, and we recognise that communities around the world know what it is to experience tragedy. And in recent weeks, violence and tragedy has come again to our nation, and to this, our beloved London. At every time, but especially in these times, we know how important it is to stand together and to work for peace. Therefore, peace be with you, and I look forward now to walking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Canon. Allah Rahman Rahim, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. On behalf of Muslim Aid, our heartfelt thanks and warmth of greetings and the greetings of peace to our fellow faith leaders who have invited to be with us and stand in solidarity on this sunset walk. Through the depths of our hearts, we stand in solidarity, in unity. It is, as was stated, the blessed month of Ramadan. Ramadan, the month of virtue, the month of mercy, the month of compassion, the month of charity, and the month of prayer. We are honored and deeply privileged to be standing here side by side with our faith leaders and are about to embark upon a walk of peace from St. Paul's, from the beautiful, iconic building of St. Paul's to the East London Mosque, in which that we will be breaking bread together and having our iftar together. And it is an amazing act to see you all standing here with us and embarking upon this walk together. I thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. Our prayers and thoughts go out to all the bereaved families who mourn the loss of their loved ones, from from the tragedy of events in London to Manchester to Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan and beyond. It is the blessed month in which that Muslims give in charity, in compassion, in their generosity knows no bounds, in which that it reaches four corners of the world. And on behalf of Muslim Aid, we will do our utmost to ensure that we send this message of peace, compassion and solidarity to all that we are working with. So on behalf again of Muslim Aid, I thank you all, and I thank you Canon, and I thank you all the faith leaders that stand here with us in solidarity. And we ask you all for prayers for those that are no longer with us, and prayers of peace, unity and solidarity. God bless you all, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Muhammad Habib Rahman. I am the chairman of the London Mosque and the London Muslim Centre. Welcome to all of you, certainly to the Bishop of Fulham, who's first time here, and we're very grateful that you're here. This initiative by Muslim Aid of the Sunset Walk is something obviously we're very supportive of, and we can really certainly relate to. It's so very, very important that us communities, very different communities, and we do have very, very many communities, certainly in London, and that diversity is something that we all celebrate, and what really makes us very strong. And it's so very important for us to know one another, share with one another, and to be able to work together for common good. And I think this kind of initiative is really to be applauded and to be welcome. We certainly are very pleased to be a part of that. I hope you have a very pleasant rest of the evening here today. Those of you who are here for the first time, I hope it won't be your last time. We are very open, and we hope we are very welcoming, and we hope to see you whenever it's convenient for you to be here. It is a very big centre here. We have the mosque, we have the London Muslim Centre, we have the Mariam Centre, which is dedicated to a lot of the activities for women and young women and so on. We are very pleased that we do have a very diverse range of activities, and it does involve both Muslims from different nationalities, but also a lot of our friends from the non-Muslim communities as well. And we have interfaith activity that goes on, and we work very, very closely. Certainly in terms of the locality here, the very different communities in the locality are very close together. We work together and we support one another for the very different things that we do, and that's what really makes us very strong. So once again, thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Muslim Aid, for taking the initiative for this event, and I think it's been very successful, and we hope to be a part of such initiative in the future, and we hope to see all of you again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rahman. Thank you very much for hosting and welcoming us to the wonderful and hospitable, warm, loving East London Mosque. We wish you all the best and for the rest of Ramadan. Thank you very much. I think that as the countdown to Iftar begins, I'd like to first and foremost, on behalf of Muslim Aid, welcome you all and thank you all for joining us on this auspicious occasion. Faith communities and faith leaders from all different walks of life and all backgrounds in act of solidarity in standing together. On behalf of Muslim Aid, our heartfelt thank you to everyone that's played a part in making this a success and gracing us with your presence today. I maybe will say a few words at the end, but I'll ask my friends and fellow faith leaders on this sunset walk to share with us your reflections. We are in the middle of Ramadan, the month of mercy, the month of blessing, the month of compassion, the month of community, and the month of sacrifice. And we are in the heart of the community here at the East London Mosque, breaking bread and celebrating and opening our iftar with our fellow Londoners and our community here in London. And it gives us great pleasure to do this with you all today. And on behalf of Muslim Aid, our heartfelt thanks to you all. So if we can continue the program by asking our dear beloved friends to say a few words, introduce yourself and say a few words to the wonderful gathering that we have up here of young, old, men, women, mixed still of all gatherings, please. Bishop of Fulham, thank you for joining us, and I'd like for you to maybe kick us off.
Thank you very much. I'm the Bishop of Fulham, one of a team, a college of 5 or 6 bishops who serve the Diocese of London. It's been a huge joy and a huge privilege to be with you this evening. Thank you very much indeed for the invitation and the opportunity to walk with you. I've been hugely impressed by the attendance. I know it will have been a long day for you all, so I'm very impressed that you've turned out to share in this evening's walk, and I've really been very impressed too to hear of the work that Muslim Aid carries out. I've hugely enjoyed the many conversations I've had on the walk, conversations of great interest with the other faith leaders. So thank you very much for those expressions of friendship, and thank you very much indeed in advance for the hospitality which you're offering here this evening. We are sharing in one another's company this evening. We are all citizens together of and in London. And we stand together as those who, with neighbours and fellow citizens from so many other traditions and backgrounds, make up the population of our great capital and global city. And tonight we're witnessing to our determination to live together in peace, in safety and security, and in mutual respect. All of us committed to the common good, to supporting one another, and to the rule of law. And we've been walking together to remember also victims of religious violence around the world, in many different nations and countries, and especially, of course, victims of the appalling attacks in our capital city last week. Religious extremism is sadly a global problem. And I want to reaffirm this evening what the Archbishop of Canterbury said last week, that it is the responsibility of all faith leaders to counter extremism within our ranks. I hope that the rest of the world will take inspiration from East London, where Christians and Muslims and Jews and others live and work and worship side by side, using every day to strengthen the bonds between our communities. So meeting in this holy month, this holy season that we've been hearing about, for you, my Muslim brothers and sisters, I pray that we will ever remember that we are all united in the common humanity we share, and that we are, all of us, children of God. Thank you very much for having me here this evening. Thank you.
I hope you don't mind if I stand up. I can't be focused when I'm sitting down, and I'll just talk and talk and talk and talk, which you really don't want this evening. I'm Alan Green. I'm the Church of England vicar. My church is St John on Bethnal Green, on top of Bethnal Green Underground Station. I'm also the chair of Tower Hamlets Interfaith Forum. It's been a huge privilege and joy to walk with you this relatively short distance this evening. And the simplest reflection I have here is the conversations that I was engaged in on the way here about all sorts of different things, sharing information about family members, talking about football, respect, and then about the problems of this city and the problems of this world. Big conversations, small conversations, but learning about other people on that walk. And that's such an easy thing to do. Much more difficult to organise, but to take part in it and just meet people from different communities, different faiths, and share information about ourselves is such a simple thing to do. And yet I think it is absolutely crucial in the world in which we live in at present that we open ourselves to one another. We share of ourselves and we listen and learn about one another. It is a very simple thing to do, but we don't do it enough. And I'm very, very pleased with the opportunity to do that this evening, because in the end, this is the way that we defeat terrorism. These simple little acts of openness to one another. I've been in Tower Hamlets for 19 years now, and I find it an absolute joy to live here and to work here, to pray here, and to speak through the microphone when it works here. To live in such a diverse community, to face such challenges of so many differences around, and to find common answers to the problems that we face, means that we are ahead of many communities in this country, of knowing about one another. And of course we have a huge history of welcoming refugees and immigrants over hundreds of years. We know how to get on with one another. It doesn't mean we don't have our problems, but there is a commitment here to overcome them. And we have to do that because there are those forces that try to divide us. those who come here to claim that we cannot live well together. Groups both from the extreme right and those who claim to be Muslim, who don't want us to get on. And in the face of that, we need to keep talking. We need to keep sharing. We need to keep showing kindness and respect to our neighbours. Simple things to do. And yet, in the end, the way that we will defeat those who seek to divide us, those who seek to demonise individual communities amongst us, we will defeat those who want us to bend to hate. We do it simply by talking and listening. Thank you.
Greetings. My name's Tricia Hillis and I'm one of the clergy at St Paul's Cathedral, and it was a very, very great pleasure to greet you on the steps. And for me and my husband, who joins me sitting there with you, we lived in this area from 1984 to 1993, and so it's tremendous to be back. I have to say, we do sneak over occasionally to come and eat, so we're not completely back for the first time, but to be with you in this gathering is very special indeed. And a reflection from me, talking with some of our fellow pilgrims on the walk. Someone commented to me that we walk very fast as Londoners, and we found it hard to slow down, to walk slow enough to keep together. And that's what strikes me, that actually it takes time and it takes intentionality to stop, to walk slowly together side by side. And when that happens, the conversations and the real heart-to-heart meeting that can happen is truly divine. So thank you for your welcome, and thank you for all that we will do as we break bread together.
Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Mursaleen, and ba'd. I greet you with the Islamic greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May peace and blessing of Almighty God be upon you all. I'm Sheikh Dr. Ramzy, Imam of, as simple as this, as is a mosque, Imam of Oxford University and Director of Oxford Brookes University. And I would like to read a little bit of Arabic, the prayer Arabic, and of course after that translated in English. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise is due to Lord God. We praise Him, seek His help, and ask for His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah for the evil of our own selves and from the evil of our deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can lead astray, and whomsoever Allah leads astray, none can go. We exalt you. We exalt you, O Lord, with our hearts and with our souls. Again, the evil strike, hiding behind the name of Islam, which means peace, took the lives of the innocent people, injured them, and made a chaos in the best city of the world. In order to divide, bring hatred, suspicion, and confusion between us, in order to gain more evil. We condemn this evil act in the highest possible. My dear friends, brothers and sisters, we must keep our unity. United, we will win. Our hearts and prayers goes with the victims of London and Manchester barbaric act of terrorists who has no respect for the life of others. In Islam, if you kill one person, it is as you kill a nation. And if you save one life, you save a nation. Dear friends, while we grieve and express solidarity with the people who were killed, injured and hurt by the terrorists in London and Manchester and during the past few weeks, we should also hold in our prayers those who have also suffered from terrorist actions across the world. There are also those who are suffering in the crossfire of prejudice. Those starving in Yemen and East Africa. Those ostracized, tortured in Myanmar. Those who live in daily fear across the world. Remember them all in our prayers. As people of faith, we need to be considerate for all suffering human beings and stand alongside all victims of terror. May they have peace. May those who grieve have comfort. And we who are stand beside them, offer them support and our prayers. May Allah, may the Lord Almighty God grant us peace, love and brotherhood, and unite us in serving Him. Amen.
I'll probably say a few words. I think there's not much more to be said from what everybody said. Bishop, Archbishop, scholars, imams, his trustees, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. My name is Jamil Mohammed. I'm the Deputy Mayor in the London Borough of Southwark. I'm here on behalf of the borough today to show our solidarity and to show that we are all here together to, condemn the extremism that's happening in London. As you would know, London Bridge is in the London Borough of Southwark, and it's really kind of caused a lot of pressure in Southwark on our communities, and a lot of people are scared to go out and in fear that there will be more problems, but we're there to reassure our residents that, look, we need to stand strong and not be scared of the terrorism that's happening. And there's, I've already got a prepared script, but I wanted to make a big speech there. But all I wanted to say is that we need to stay strong and more of this needs to happen. I want to commend Muslim Aid and East London Mosque for doing what they did today. This is a start and we need to keep this going. Interfaith is the way forward, and I think people like yourselves, like all these like-minded people, need to enroll and participate in this. And I hope you all have a great helping of the fast, and thank you very much.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Martin Waitman. I'm from the Church of Scientology, and I'm also the director of a group called the All Faiths Network, which is an Interfaith group. Thank you very much to the organisers for organising this today. It was a great initiative. Thank you for everybody, all the other faith leaders that were part of this. I think a lot has already been said, and I'm not going to repeat it, but one thing that I take from this with my heart is walking with you and seeing your bright eyes and happy faces and your pleasant conversations. It really means something. And if there is false information about religions, just doing what you're doing and being yourself is absolutely the way to rid the world of false impressions. And so that is essential, and that is part of interfaith work. So I want to thank every one of you for taking the time here to participate in this march, and for your strength and your courage in putting forward all your positive thoughts and messages. So thank you all very much.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Leon Silver. I'm president of the East London Central Synagogue, which is in Nelson Street, not far from here. I'm also on the steering committee of Tower Hamlets Interfaith Forum, which is brilliantly led by Father Alan Green. I would just like to make one comment from a previous speaker who said this is the beginning. It's not the beginning. We in the Interfaith Forum have been involved in interfaith activities for many years. And in fact, we've come together many times when the loathsome EDL planned to march through London. We stood together. When Britain first came into the mosque, we came and stood outside the doors. We are united. I've been here so many times. I get invited every year to the annual Eid dinner of the Council of Mosques. I would point out, as I'm Jewish, so I do go vegetarian. Halal is almost kosher. It's not quite, but it's along similar lines. While I think of it, one thing I would point out about today's march. Firstly, I apologize, I didn't actually march from St. Paul's. But part of the reason is today is the Jewish Sabbath. It's almost over right now. And what with it being the Sabbath and my age and my bad back, so do forgive me. I did walk here from my home. Unlike probably all of you here, I'm old enough, and I would point out I'm only in my 60s, which is still old, but I'm not 100 years old. But I can remember the East London Mosque when it was above and next door a sweet shop in Commercial Road, and the shop was called Dean's. And so we called the couple who were from Karachi, we called them Mr. and Mrs. Dean. Of course, that wasn't their name. But that was how this mosque began. And also one remarkable feature about this mosque, until very recently, there was a synagogue right at the side. And the two always got on very well together. And in fact, the building was sold to the mosque. And I was sort of peripherally involved. I actually came in just before it was sold. I managed to take some artifacts back to my synagogue. And then after it was sold, the authorities here also called me in. And I was able to explain that the pillars were the only original part of the synagogue. It had been bombed during the war and rebuilt. And they actually said they didn't know that, and they would try and incorporate those original from the synagogue into whatever replaces it. So we are united. We are more than simply living side by side. We live in harmony. More than that, we live in friendship. We have our different religions, which are, believe me, are not as different as some make out. And again, one interesting thing I heard just now from you were an imam, sir? Yes. Sheikh. I heard what is a virtually word for word a quote from the Talmud, the ancient Jewish commentaries. The Talmud says, whoever saves one life, it is as if they saved the world entire. Whoever destroys one life, it is as if they have destroyed the entire world. Word for word. The Jewish word for charity, tzedakah. Does that ring a bell? Yes. And above all, the word that occurs in our prayers so often, if only all of us as human beings could live up to it, the word shalom, the word salam. The origins are the same. We are all one people under God. We have our different ways, but God sees into the hearts, and we are united. We are united in our beliefs, but even for those who have no belief, the humanity inside all of us, which we believe is God-given, our living soul is the same for every human being, and we reject evil. We reject those who have become so twisted and distorted in whatever vile interpretation they give of one of the world's greatest remarkable religions, the religion of Islam. To have it distorted by this handful is in itself an atrocity. And we must never ever forget that by far the greatest number of victims of these what do we call them, Islamo-fascists, Islamo-Nazis, whatever, by far their greatest number of victims are Muslim. And we must never forget that fact. So we do stand together, we stand for decency, for humanity, for every good thing, for brotherhood and sisterhood. We will not be divided. And so thank you for having me here. I've been here so many times, along with Father Adam's church. Apart from my synagogue, I think they're the two houses of worship I'm in most often. So I wish all of you Eid Mubarak, and may we always meet at happy and peaceful times together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Friends, fellow faith leaders, Bishop, Canon, Neil, churches of all backgrounds and faith leaders, our heartfelt gratitude to you all for standing and walking with us and sharing your reflections. On behalf of Muslim Aid and as a British Muslim and as a community, we welcome you to our mosque. We welcome you to break your iftar, break food with us. It's an honor and privilege, and I hope that after the Sheikh and the Imam does the countdown to the iftar with a beautiful dua and a beautiful prayer, we're heading into the second half of Ramadan. The first 10 days are over, the second 10 days we're in the middle of. And so Ramadan is, the days of blessed days of Ramadan are leaving us. And so we are appreciating this beautiful month and this blessed evening. We come together in solidarity with Muslim Aid and all of you all that are breaking the iftar with us in remembrance. Neil has so eloquently, beautifully touched our hearts, speaking of the word of God in Talmud and the Christian scriptures and our Quranic teachings have the same historical connection. And we have a present communal connection of standing together in solidarity, inshallah. Only a few weeks ago, I was in the borders of Turkey and Syria witnessing the tragic events of what the impact has been on refugees globally. And unfortunately, the atrocities that we see and the acts of violence have affected many countries and many communities, many people around the world. So we ask you all, as the countdown begins, for your remembrance, your prayers, your deep, heartfelt compassion to people around the world, for bereaved families in London, in Manchester, in Paris, in Kabul, in Iraq, in Myanmar, in Gaza, in Yemen, all across the hurting globe right now. And we thank you on behalf of Muslim Aid for all your support, for all the 30 years of support that you've given, enabled us to be able to do the work that we do. But most importantly tonight, we send peace and blessings upon you all, and we wish our communities that make our country great, that we hope and pray that we can stand together on the different occasions which marks the different faiths, be it at Christmas, be it at the Jewish faith, the Hindu, the Sikh, and those that of non-faith, and our brothers and sisters from Church of Scientology, all different backgrounds. We stand in solidarity as Muslims, as people of faith, and as humanity. Neil so beautifully, and I'll end with this one because it's a verse that we always use, and we know it well, that if you save one life, it's like you're saving all of humanity. So we're blessed at Muslim Aid today and night to be able to enable us to do this work in which that we can help save a life and inshallah save humanity. On behalf of all of Muslim Aid, the volunteers and all that you walked with us and all the supporters, I think everybody deserves a big round of applause and thank you, and a very gracious thank you all. I believe that we're minutes away now from our iftar, so I'm going to hand the mic over to our beloved Imam, who will share a few words and share with us some reflections as we end towards our Ramadan, and then inshallah he will be making dua, he will be making a prayer for us all inshallah on the minutes just before iftar. Thank you, Sheikh.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Muslim Aid, for many, many years, for over 30 years, has been supporting vulnerable people around the world, people who are destitute, people who become the targets of wars that have nothing to do with them. And if we just reflect on what devastation can happen, it was brought home to us only last week. At this time, last week, exactly this time, many of us, just as we are sitting here today, hundreds and thousands and millions of Muslims throughout the UK were also sitting, waiting for iftar, waiting to close their fast. They had a spiritual day, they had a prayerful day, they had a day where they reflected and they had become closer to God. But at the same time, there were 3 individuals who were thinking of doing something else. At exactly this time, they were planning. Instead of thinking about God, instead of thinking about Allah, instead of thinking about the religion, instead of thinking about the spirituality of Ramadan, they were thinking about killing individuals. Innocent individuals. People who had nothing to do with anything. And yet, they did it in my name. They did it in your name. They did it in your faith's name, in my faith's name. They did it in our faith's name. They did it in our Prophet's name. They did it in our Quran's name. But in reality, those 3 individuals do not represent the 3+ million Muslims across the UK. And I work in the hospital. I was called to the hospital when this incident happened. And I saw some of the victims. And when I saw some of the victims, I can tell you that the first thought that came to mind, that no human being can do this to any other human being. Because if you're human, you have a heart. And if you have a heart, then you have feelings for other human beings. But those individuals had no feelings. They had no heart. And they did not represent anyone from the Muslim community. They did not represent the Islamic faith. And they did not represent the peaceful religion of Islam, nor the peaceful Prophet, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that brought home to us the victims that are suffering around the world as well. And that is why it's so important for us to talk to each other, to have a dialogue with each other, to interact with each other, so that eventually we come to understand that there is no barrier between human beings. We might follow a different faith, but human beings are human beings and we have to respect each other. We close with a prayer just before we open our fast. Allahumma lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhik wa 'azimi sultanik. O Allah, Ya Arham Ar-Rahimin, Ya Akram Al-Akramin, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Ya Allah, you are the most merciful. We are the weakest. Us human beings are extremely weak. We need your guidance. Oh Allah, guide us. Guide us all and bring peace around the world. Bring peace around the world. End all suffering of every single human being around the world. And help us to become agents to relieve the suffering around the world. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الله أكبر.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
Islam.